Ever wonder if there's like a reset button for your body's ability to like repair and regenerate itself? I mean, what if there were these surprisingly simple ways to support that process from within?
Hmm, that's the exciting question we're going to be digging into today, right? You've put together some really fascinating research looking at exactly how we might be able to encourage our stem cells to work better as we age.
Absolutely. So this deep dive is all about understanding how to give those incredible stem cells a little nudge in the right direction. The sources you've provided cover so many approaches, everything from everyday habits to specific supplements, and the science behind it, honestly, it's really compelling.
It is, and our goal today is to distill the most impactful information for everyone listening. We want to provide you with like a clear and actionable understanding of what these sources suggest are the key ways to positively influence these foundational cells without getting too bogged down in the really complex details. Think of it as your essential guide to understanding stem cell support.
I love that. Yeah. So it's like unlocking your body's natural potential for repair. And just to give everyone listening a little roadmap of where we're going, the information you shared ranges from simple adjustments to your daily routine to powerful compounds you can find in your diet, and even some really intriguing supplements that have been studied for their impact on stem cells. All right, let's jump right in. Let's start with lifestyle. Exercise seems like an obvious one, right, for overall health, but how does it specifically affect stem cells?
Yeah, it's fundamental. And what's interesting is how the sources actually break it down. They talk about both aerobic exercise and resistance training as having these distinct benefits, which, when you think about it, makes sense, right? Because resistance training directly challenges muscle tissue, and that's where stem cells are so crucial for repair and growth. But aerobic exercise, on the other hand, has these broader systemic effects that potentially benefit stem cells in all sorts of tissues, even the brain.
Right, so it's not just about general fitness.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets really interesting, especially for those of us who are, trying to be efficient with our time. The research touches on high-intensity interval training, HIA, as being potentially very beneficial for something called mitochondrial biogenesis. So that's basically like your cells creating more of those energy-producing units, which leads to better tissue repair.
Exactly. Think of it this way. Those short bursts of intense activity create a temporary stress on your cells right now, and it signals them to become more resilient and efficient. It's very much like how a muscle gets stronger after you challenge it. Efficient mitochondria are the powerhouses of all of our cells, including stem cells, so boosting their function has a wide range of positive effects.
I like that analogy. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit from the gym to the kitchen. It seems that our eating patterns, specifically how often or maybe how little we eat, can also influence our stem cells. Fasting and caloric restriction came up a lot in the research. Now, I know those can sound pretty restrictive, so what are the key takeaways here for people listening?
Well, the sources point to prolonged fasting, meaning 24 hours or more, as a potential way to increase the regeneration of something called hematopoietic stem cells. Those are the ones responsible for all our blood cells. And what's really noteworthy is the proposed mechanism. It seems to help the body clear out damaged cells and trigger autophagy, which is like a cellular cleanup process where old or dysfunctional components are broken down and recycled.
Ah, so it's like hitting a cellular refresh button.
I like that. That's a really helpful way to visualize it. And then there's caloric restriction, not to the point of malnutrition, of course, but consistently consuming fewer calories. Some research suggests this can actually improve stem cell function and even lead to increased longevity.
Interesting. Now, this next one was a little bit unexpected.
Mhm.
Red light therapy. So tell me more about how shining light on ourselves could possibly impact our stem cells.
Right. So, red light therapy, also known as photobiomodulation, involves using specific wavelengths of red and near infrared light. And early studies are suggesting that it might actually encourage stem cell proliferation and support tissue repair. What's really intriguing is the potential range of applications they're exploring, from speeding up wound healing and muscle regeneration to even possibly influencing brain health. It's thought that the light may interact with the mitochondria within cells, stimulating energy production.
Wow, that's quite a diverse set of potential benefits. But the research does caution that more human studies are needed, right?
Absolutely. While those initial findings are really promising, it is important to remember that much of this research is still in its early stages. We need larger, more rigorous human trials to really confirm these effects. However, it is certainly a field with a lot of exciting potential.
It definitely seems that way. Okay, so let's move on to something a bit more traditional, saunas and heat exposure. I personally find a good sauna to be incredibly relaxing, so I was very interested to see this mentioned in the research.
It's more than just relaxation. The sources actually connect regular sauna use to the activation of heat shock proteins, or HSPs. And what's fascinating is that these proteins act like these little cellular bodyguards. They protect and support stem cells, particularly when they're under stress.
Oh, wow. So it's not just a nice way to unwind. It could actually be helping my stem cells stay resilient.
Precisely. And the other benefits we often associate with saunas, like reduced inflammation and improved cardiovascular health, could indirectly contribute to a more supportive environment for tissue regeneration.
I like that. Okay, so heat makes sense for relaxation, but cold exposure, that sounds a bit less appealing, especially on a chilly morning.
It might take a little more willpower, but the science is definitely interesting. Deliberate cold exposure, like ice baths or cryotherapy, has been shown to stimulate brown fat activation. And the current thinking is that this process may actually enhance stem cell longevity by reducing oxidative stress, which is a huge contributor to cellular aging.
Huh. So like a brief, controlled shock to the system could have these long-term benefits at the cellular level.
That's the current understanding. It's an example of hormesis. A small dose of stress that triggers a positive adaptive response. And that potentially makes our cells, including our stem cells, more robust.
That makes sense. All right, that gives us a lot to think about when it comes to lifestyle. Now let's talk about how we can support our stem cells through what we eat. Dietary compounds. Polyphenols seem to come up all the time in these discussions about healthy aging.
Yeah, they do, and for good reason. The sources specifically highlight compounds like resveratrol, quercetin, and fisetin, noting their role in promoting autophagy. That cellular cleanup process we were talking about earlier, and just overall longevity.
Yeah.
What's really significant is that these compounds are naturally present in a wide variety of plant-based foods, so it suggests a very direct link between our diet and these fundamental cellular processes.
Right, and we've already talked about how important autophagy seems to be for cellular health. What about sulforaphane? I always hear about the benefits of broccoli sprouts.
Sulforaphane, which is abundant in cruciferous vegetables like broccoli sprouts, is definitely noteworthy. The sources indicate its ability to support the body's natural detoxification pathways, and that can indirectly benefit stem cells by just reducing the burden of harmful substances. There's even some evidence suggesting it might directly enhance stem cell survival.
Interesting. Okay, that makes sense. And then we have the well-known omega-3 fatty acids and curcumin.
Yes. Omega-3s, particularly EPA and DHA, are known for their anti-inflammatory effects, and the sources really highlight their role in supporting stem cells within the brain. Curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, is another potent anti-inflammatory and antioxidant, and research suggests it may help with tissue regeneration by reducing oxidative damage.
So it sounds like a diet rich in colorful fruits and vegetables, healthy fats, and maybe incorporating things like turmeric could be providing significant support for our stem cells without us even realizing it.
I think that's a really accurate summary. Those dietary components really do offer a great foundational level of support. Now let's move into the world of supplements. The sources explore some particularly interesting specific molecules that have been studied for their impact on stem cells. First up are nicotinamide riboside and nicotinamide mononucleotide, often referred to as NR and NMN. These seem to be generating a lot of buzz in the longevity field.
They really are. And these sources explain that they are precursors to NAD plus OI, a really crucial molecule involved in tons of cellular processes, including mitochondrial health and, importantly, stem cell function. That connection between mitochondrial health and stem cells keeps popping up.
It does, and it just underscores its central role in cellular energy and overall vitality. The sources mention animal studies that indicate NMN can actually enhance muscle stem cell function and might even extend lifespan in certain models. NR has been linked to improvements in energy metabolism and tissue repair. What's really compelling here is how directly these supplements aim to support a very fundamental metabolic pathway within our cells.
Right. Okay, next on the list is fisetin again, but this time specifically in a high-dose supplement form. So what's the difference between getting it from food and taking a supplement?
Well, the primary difference is the concentration. While fisetin is a beneficial polyphenol you can find in a lot of different plants, the sources highlight high-dose fisetin supplements for their powerful senolytic properties. So senolytics are compounds that can actually target and clear out those senescent cells. These are often called zombie cells. They're those dysfunctional cells that can accumulate as we age and negatively impact the function of surrounding healthy cells, including stem cells. By clearing out those senescent cells, you can reduce chronic inflammation, which is a major driver of aging.
So it's a more targeted strategy for removing cellular debris that could be hindering our stem cells.
Precisely. And the sources note that high-dose fisetin has actually been shown to extend lifespan and promote tissue regeneration in rodent studies, which provides some significant preclinical support for its potential role in anti-aging strategies.
Okay, moving on to something with a little bit more of an exotic name. Fucoidan. I think I've seen that listed in some seaweed-based products before.
You're right. Fucoidan is a complex sugar molecule that's extracted from certain types of brown seaweed. But the sources really emphasize the concentrated extract form found in supplements. And what's particularly interesting about it is its studied ability to mobilize stem cells. So think of it like sending out a signal that calls the repair crew to the site of damage. It also seems to support a healthy immune system. Research also suggests it can actually help with tissue repair and regeneration.
So it's not just about having the stem cells present, but actually helping them get to where they're needed to do their job.
Exactly. That ability to direct stem cell activity is a crucial aspect of tissue repair.
I see. Okay, the next one is astragalus extract, sometimes mentioned as TA65 or containing cyclooestrogenol. This one is linked to telomeres, those protective caps at the ends of our chromosomes.
You got it. Cyclooestrogenol, a key component of astragalus extract, is believed to help maintain telomere length. And the sources suggest that this has the potential to enhance the function of those hematopoietic stem cells. The ones responsible for producing all our blood cells. Some studies also indicate that it might help maintain a more youthful immune response, although it's important to note that more research is definitely needed in this area.
Okay. That connection to telomeres always sparks interest in the context of aging. Then we have alpha-ketoglutarate, or KGG. That sounds like it plays a role in our metabolism.
It does. Alpha-ketoglutarate is a metabolic compound that our bodies naturally produce, but levels do tend to decrease as we get older. The sources highlight its connection to improved stem cell differentiation. So that's the process where stem cells become specialized cells with specific functions. It also seems to be important for supporting mitochondrial health. And interestingly, studies in mice have shown that KKG can actually extend lifespan and improve the body's ability to repair tissues.
Wow. So it's like replenishing something our bodies make less of over time and potentially supporting those key stem cell functions of specialization and energy production.
That's the idea.
Okay. Finally, the sources mention Stemregen, which sounds like a very specifically formulated supplement.
Yeah. It is a niche product that is marketed specifically for stem cell activation. The sources list its primary ingredients as blue-green algae, fucoidan, and various other plant extracts. There are some preliminary studies suggesting that it might increase the levels of circulating stem cells in the body, which is an intriguing finding. However, it's crucial to emphasize the need for independent research to validate these initial claims.
Right. So while the early research might be promising, we always want to look for more rigorous studies that aren't funded by the company itself.
Definitely. Independent validation is always key to building strong scientific evidence.
Well, this has been a really comprehensive look at a lot of different ways we can support our stem cells. So if we were to try and summarize the main points for everyone listening.
Based on all the information in your sources, it seems like a multi-pronged approach offers the most potential for supporting healthy stem cell function and just promoting healthy aging overall. So that means consciously incorporating those beneficial lifestyle practices we discussed earlier, paying attention to the powerful compounds in our diet, and maybe considering some targeted supplements that have a solid base of scientific evidence behind them.
And it's so important to remember, as your sources also highlight, that this is a constantly evolving field of research. We're learning more and more about the long-term effects and the most effective strategies for supporting our stem cells all the time. Ongoing research is essential.
You're absolutely right. But the insights we've explored today, I think, provide some really fascinating and potentially impactful things to consider.
I agree. So with all of this in mind, here's a final thought for you. Considering all the different ways that we can potentially influence our stem cells, what small, manageable change could you maybe explore incorporating into your daily routine this week? Something that might just give your body's natural repair system a little boost? Or maybe with this new understanding of how different factors can impact your stem cells, what new questions does this raise for you about your own personal health and longevity journey?
Those are great questions.
I hope this has been helpful for everyone. And until next time, keep seeking that knowledge and keep taking care of yourself.